What's up, guys? In this week's Fan Friday, we're going to talk about the biggest mistakes that first-timers make. This week's Fan Friday comes to us again from Samantha Mabe, and her question was, what is the biggest mistake you see first-time competitors make? Great question, Sam. Let's get into it. Now, I know Sam might be looking for a single answer, but there are so many things that first-timers do that are big mistakes that I wanted to cover a bunch. So in no particular order, here we go. The first mistake that most first-time competitors make is that they don't get lean enough. And that's no fault of their own, because if they haven't done their research, if they haven't gone to a show before, they don't really know what the competition is necessarily going to look like. And yes, now with today's social media, they have a better idea of what's expected. But if you are a first-time novice walking into a show like I did many years ago, I thought I was pretty lean until I got to a show and I saw actually what real conditioning looked like. So that's the biggest mistake that people make, is not getting lean enough. And it's tough for a first-time competitor because in your mind, you might think that, okay, I'm 180 pounds in the off season, so maybe that means I'm going to get down to 160 for my competition weight. In reality, you might need to get down to 150 for your true competition weight. So not knowing where your true stage weight is a disadvantage to a first timer, and that's where having a coach definitely comes into play. The second mistake that I see a lot of first timers make, and this is across the board, is that they don't put a lot of effort into their posing. They may be able to hit a couple poses, like everyone can hit a front double bi, but that's about it. Like for bodybuilders, they don't know how to properly hit their relaxed poses. They don't know how to hit a lat spread. They don't know how to open up their back. They don't know how to flex their legs. So they need to put a lot more time into posing before they compete. And the mistake that I made, and these are all mistakes that I made, right? So I mean, they're kind of fitting. But I thought, and I knew nothing about bodybuilding when I got into it, I thought that all of the attention should go to the routine. So I choreographed this great routine to Iron Man, and it was epic. But I still lost because I put barely any effort into the quarter turns, into the mandatories. And the guy that I faced in my teen class actually only hit like 3 poses when he went out for his posing routine. And I was like, oh man, I blew him out of the water. But yet he beat me in my class because he had a better physique than I did. He knew how to pose better. He was leaner than I was. So he played the bodybuilding game, and I thought that bodybuilding was all about the routine, and that wasn't even judged at the time. So you gotta put more effort into posing as a whole, especially the mandatories. So between getting lean and posing correctly, those are the big two. Now you see a lot of novices, cutting water or cutting sodium or trying to carb up at the last second. But those are really the big ones that I see the absolute most. And of course you have the novices that go, that try to crash diet too quickly. They may, have a really, really high rate of loss. They may start too late. But those are really end results of what the first two things are. When you don't get lean enough and when you don't practice your posing. And if you're a novice out there, if you're someone looking to compete, which I feel like a lot of the people who watch, my channel are a little bit more advanced, but for those first timers out there, you can gain so many placings if you know how to pose properly. You may have a little bit less muscle. You may not be as lean as some of the guys out there, but if you know how to properly display your physique, your placings are going to jump exponentially. I'm not saying you're going to win. I'm just saying you're going to do a lot better than you would have if you posed poorly. And of course, getting lean for a first timer, that's going to come with practice. And I'll say this, and this is what I'll finish the video with, is if you're a first timer, I actually don't encourage people to absolutely trash themselves in order to get the absolute leanest that they can. Mainly because it's so difficult, and because if you're a first timer, you probably haven't been in the sport very long, you're more likely to lose a lot of muscle. Not unless you're a first timer in your 40s when you've already gained all this muscle. Most people that just get into the sport for the first time are fairly young. I was 19 when I started. I still have people that are first timers that are in their early 30s, but really you want to make sure that you take your time with your dieting so you don't lose a ton of muscle mass. And that's where a lot of people will try to push to get too lean. And you want to make sure that you actually will come back. I think some people push their bodies to the limit and they absolutely destroy themselves, that they have such a bad time they actually never come back to compete in bodybuilding. So I would say those are definitely the biggest mistakes. Not getting lean enough and or getting too lean for your first show, that it ruins you. And then secondly, practicing your posing. So that's it for today's video, guys. As always, keep dominating in every aspect. I'll see you soon.